Good morning! It's Friday and another fantastic edition, of course, of the Nerdy Cool Dad podcast, episode 23. And yeah, this week definitely flew right by. I swear it was Monday yesterday, but I'm not complaining. I certainly enjoy my weekends, and I'm going to enjoy this one because it stopped snowing outside as of today, I think, and it's supposed to get a lot warmer. So I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm looking forward to it regardless. Even if I do nothing and lie on the couch, that's something to look forward to as well. But still, as the virus continues to do its thing and people are on lockdown, there's always news to report. That's why I'm able to do this show every day, except for weekends, of course. But yeah, it's a lot going on right now. What I'm really focusing on is, over the last 24, 48 hours, is how companies are reacting throughout this crisis and long-term effects in consumer markets. So what I have to stress is, I'm not that pleased with companies like Amazon, as I've sort of expressed time and time again. When you allow your vendors to gouge people and increase pricing way too much, you lose credibility. For me as a consumer, I'm not getting anything out of Amazon like I was prior to COVID-19. Now I understand that there's supply and demand issues, there's logistical issues, things like that, but there has to be systems in place to ensure that pricing is still fair. For me, I mean, and a lot of others, you got people paying for their Prime memberships, and what am I getting out of it? I just don't see the value. So I'm interested to see how things sort of pan out afterwards. And I have talked about this before. Some of your big box stores getting more. I guess like being thrown into a situation where they have to fix their omni-channel presence, online and offline, and offer those proper experiences. So I'm really hoping to see a big push there. Big announcement from Apple. I just found out about it yesterday because I just don't pay attention to Apple. I'm not a huge Apple fan, but I have to give kudos to them. They've got a new phone coming out. I think it's the SE, iPhone SE, coming out soon, and the price point is $399, and it's got like the best camera on the market, and it's a decent phone. So that being said, they're going to be the first to market with a proper, affordable cell phone or smartphone, which is pretty great. I mean, kudos to them. I think they're going to sell a lot of them, and I think given this situation and the financial strain everyone's going to be in after this is all said and done, you're going to start to see more products being presented to people that are at a price point that they can afford, and companies are going to need to adapt. Do I need a $1,200 phone? I don't know. I got it as part of my plan, so I'm going to take it, right? But I don't know that it's necessary for what I do personally. For me, it's got my podcast stuff, social media. I haven't touched sports apps in far too long now, and that's about it. I don't play games on my phone, to be perfectly honest. I've got plenty of gaming consoles, handheld gaming consoles, and I just don't see the purpose. When I was traveling downtown every day, I use my phone for games sometimes, but even still, I've got a Nintendo Switch. Do I really need to play games on my phone? Probably not. It's just not something that I need to worry about. But I think the important thing is, when this is all said and done, people are going to remember the companies that were honest, were helpful throughout this crisis, and they're the ones that are going to have a larger market share afterward. There are some, customer behavior that is going to be temporary. Like, people are buying groceries online for the first time ever. I don't imagine that that's necessarily going to be a thing going forward. However, I could see people ordering things that are more essentials on a regular basis from grocery stores or what have you. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I've talked about my experience with ordering online from Walmart, and I had no issue with it. It showed up when it said it was going to show up. It was just delayed, obviously, because at the time of ordering it, of course, there was a long window, like a 2-week window before I'd get what I needed. But it is what it is, right? This is our normal right now, and we'll get through this, right? I got to tell you about my experience yesterday. So I'm trying to. I transferred money into my tax-free savings account on my Scotia iTrade, so that I could buy some stocks and stuff like that. And it turns out my card expired back in December, and it's being sent to an old address out in BC. So I can't use my card. It can't get into my account. And I figure, well, this is obviously serious. I've already transferred money there. It's sitting there waiting. However, I can't get into my account. So I called Scotiabank, and I'm not kidding you. I was on hold for 2.5 hours. Still never got through. I had to jump into a meeting. I was working on the side, of course, while just listening to hold music. But 2.5 hours. So what I have to do now is probably go to a branch. I have some branches around me. I'll just have to walk in there, and hopefully they can help me with this, because you can't even call a branch to see if this is something they can help you with. I assume they can. I should hope they can. But anytime you call a branch, it just goes to their main line anyway. So there's no real help there, and a lot of people are trying to get their mortgages deferred, mortgage deferral payments and all that stuff, lower interest rates, stuff along those lines. So it's just jammed. And the thing that really bothers me about it is, we talk about in a crisis like this, maybe we're outsourcing way too much work to other countries. And there's plenty of Canadians that could use jobs right now, in the past as well. And the whole infrastructure crumbles because we're outsourcing to call centers in India and things along those lines. And it's just kind of silly. If that wasn't the case, you'd have plenty of help available to people that need it, and instead everything's in total chaos. So as much as regulations, things of that nature are good in Canada, I really do think that we need to see the banks step up and offer better service, because people need it. I've never waited 2.5 hours for anything. On a phone call, that is. And why would I? Why would anyone? I was just in a situation where I really needed to get a hold of someone to activate my account again, and literally I feel helpless. So hopefully I can go to the bank and they'll help me out with this, and I'll let you know how that goes, because I'm sure other people are going to have similar situations that they got to deal with. But of course, banks are on very limited hours, so I think they close at like 2 o'clock. So I'm going to have to go on my lunch break or something of that nature and figure this all out. And knock on wood, let's hope this all works out. Some interesting international news. Now, I don't know how valid this is. I saw a headline. I didn't read too much into it. But apparently, the UK government paid $20 million for coronavirus tests from a company in China, and they turned out to be faulty. See, this isn't the first time that we've heard, poor quality goods or anything like that coming out of China. We've heard of defective masks. We've heard of things like this. I'm sure there's other examples, but just kind of ties into what I was saying earlier. You got to produce these things in your own country if you can. Now, obviously, a test kit is something I don't know enough about. I'm just a guy talking to you. I don't know much about it, and I'll admit it. But I don't see why it would have to necessarily come from China. But I just think production in general, I hope this is one thing that the world really understands when we come out of this, that we can't just put all our eggs in one basket and have everything come from China. And, I'm not trying to sound ultra conservative or anything like that. That's definitely not what I'm all about. But something to be said, for sure. I've had experiences buying things straight from China as well, and not getting the quality or what I expected. But in other situations, you look at pretty much anything you have in the house, even some great quality stuff, and it is made in China as well. So there's a fine line as to who you're getting it from, who the producers are, and the quality that you should be expecting. So we'll see. But yeah, I thought that was kind of silly. Another thing kind of coming out of China as well, I saw this morning, there's a report that in Wuhan, the death toll there is actually 50% higher than what was reported. Now they're saying that it's because of the stress on the medical systems and that sort of, but I don't really believe that necessarily, because they've had plenty of time to figure that out. Again, I don't want to, put on the old tinfoil hat here and talk about conspiracy theories and things of that nature, but I just, I just don't get the feeling that they're being completely honest. And, I don't think that we're at a point where, I don't believe there was this was a lab experiment gone wrong, or, germ warfare, or anything like that. I'm not getting into that. I don't think that's the case at all, but it's something that I still think it's just a little fishy overall. And if it's because of an economic play to make sure you're back in the market before someone else, well, that's really sleazy. And I mean, over this pandemic, we've seen some sleazy things from all sorts of government officials, or governments in general. So this shouldn't be too surprising, but it is what it is, right? Let's just hope. I don't know. Let's just hope we figure this out, and everyone kind of works together. And there's scrutiny now. I mean, I'm seeing this from conservative publications. In Canada, in the U.S., and in the U.K. as well. A friend of mine posted, of course, Sun Media. I mean, God, Sun Media. Don't get me started with that pile of garbage, but. They're kind of going on the same offensive against the World Health Organization, saying it's corrupt and that they're in bed with China and all this stuff. I don't know enough about this stuff to really give you an overview. But people are looking at places or people to blame. I've talked to no end about how the Trump administration is constantly just trying to blame people. They're trying to blame the Obama administration, the previous administrations, which is hilarious, because what I've found out, and a lot of you probably found out this recently as well, is George Bush Jr. or George W. He was like obsessed with pandemic procedures and what to do if something like this happens. He actually probably would have had the most prepared government in history to deal with this. And, I mean, the average person doesn't know, right? So things are starting to spiral out of control, because now the conservative media is getting people to think like that their democratic governments or World Health Organization or world organizations in general are keeping people down for whatever reason. Like, they want to go back to work, and there's people protesting in some cities, blocking cars and like in big crowds. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, you have to listen to the science and the doctors on this. And of course, there's going to be a give and take between what people want for the economy and what people want for the health of their nation. I think at this point we've seen that a lot of people just don't give a shit at this point. So I don't know. It's sort of a grim scene to be part of, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm sure a lot of people. I mean, this is kind of what's been going on in the social media world right now, and it's a huge topic to discuss. When you're fed lies constantly, you just assume it's truth, and you're not going out of your way to really make it any different. Like, I've got friends and family that are conservative, liberal, in between. I'm kind of an in-between guy myself. And you see the arguments on both sides, and I think it's important to look at both sides, to be honest. I don't think it's healthy to look at one aspect of any situation or argument and say, this is what I believe. But the problem is, that's what people do. If you're super liberal, you get super liberal friends. You block all your conservative friends. You don't see any conservative news, and you don't take it seriously. And of course, on the flip side, you have the exact same thing. Conservatives think CNN is fake news because it's been. That's what Donald Trump does. He avoids questions and he just calls it fake news, and that's what it is, right? There's some credibility to any news source. I do think things like CNN and Fox News and Sun Media and CBC, like, they all have agendas. I don't trust any of them. I'm going to make my own opinion. I just want to hear what people are saying at the end of the day to form that opinion. So, of course, to each their own. I encourage looking at both sides of the coin before making a decision or anything of that nature. And one thing I gotta criticize about the sort of like the conservative media is, like, I gotta say, probably at least 70% of the time when something's liked and shared and such a stupid statements, like I was looking at one yesterday about the death toll being like 0.00029% in Canada, yet we're locked down, we can't go back to our jobs. And of course the post is all pixelated and shitty looking. That's kind of what I've come to expect from a lot of that. But sometimes I bite my tongue, but I had to comment in this particular situation because no, that's not the case. We're not at that point. The worldwide mortality rate right now is like 6.67%. So there's no way Canada's at 0.0002%. And what people don't think about is all the tests that were done. So right now we have about 30,000 confirmed cases in Canada, but we've done almost 500,000 tests. Okay, so think about it this way. If you're administering 500,000 tests, do you think people are just like in this crisis of being able to even get tests to begin with? Do you think doctors are saying, you know what, you got a cough, let's test you for coronavirus. That sounds like a great idea, a great way to spend our money. No, that's not the case at all. If someone's administering a test, it's because they've checked off all the boxes necessary to deem testing someone, and that's very important to understand. Yeah, I think numbers are a lot worse than we think they are, and people want to spin it because they're desperate. They want to get back to work. They want to make money. They want to get back to their old lives, and I get it. But we also have to weigh life and death at this point, and it's not our decision to say, I want to go back to work, and in the midst of doing that, I could potentially kill 100 people. And that's the reality of it, because you don't know if you're asymptomatic. We talked about it yesterday that even people that were diagnosed with coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever, and pulled through are starting to get their symptoms back again. So we're going to have this second wave that comes through, and everyone's no, I wouldn't say everyone. A good portion of people are so concerned about getting the economy up and running, and they're willing to say whatever they want so that they can start making money off the people that work for them once again. So it's a crooked system. I don't like it. It is what it is. I understand human emotion to a certain extent and why people would want to be doing the things they're doing. Unfortunately, it comes out of misinformation and just straight up lies. So, yeah, I hope humans are a little smarter than that, but I know the case is negative, and that doesn't even make sense as a sentence. But yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in humanity overall. But we've done some fantastic things. So let's just use our senses, people. That's all I'm asking. Common sense. Don't believe everything you see. Do your own research and not just go on YouTube and watch some videos. That's not good enough research. Ask opinions from different people. And you know what? On that point, that's why I really like people like Joe Rogan, for example. He sometimes gets pegged as an ultra-conservative, and that's not the case. I listen to him all the time. He's just a guy who's open-minded, willing to have conversations with just about anyone, and doesn't have an agenda. He's got, he's a smart guy. He, sees both sides of things, and, that's kind of, I would compare myself to him in a lot of ways, not just because we're bald and handsome, but I just think we're both pretty level-headed people, and I'm willing to have conversations with anyone. It's good to debate, and we can't lose that ability to have a conversation with someone that you disagree with. If it just turns out you're an idiot, no, you're an idiot, well, when are we ever going to progress or make any progress with in life and other situations that are bound to happen after this. So there's just, I don't know. I just feel like there's such a divide down the middle right now between right and left. I was actually, funnily enough, I was talking to a client of mine in New York City. He lives in Brooklyn yesterday, and just listening to his voice, and he just seems so down and like depressed about what's going on, rightfully so. And I'm trying to help him any way I can while he's got this downtime with his business. And I said, as a Canadian, I'm watching what's going on, and it's pretty crazy. But the biggest scandal in Canada right now is that Trudeau went up to his cottage last weekend, which was like 30 kilometers away, and to go see his wife and kids who were in quarantine for 3 weeks. It's not like he was having a huge family gathering and brought the grandparents in and the aunts and uncles and all that. He's seeing his immediate family. So I don't know what people want. Do they want people to be? Do you need to slap a fine on him? What's the fine going to be? Like $1,500? Go ahead and pay it. Like, I don't think he gives a shit. And I'm not gonna get all bent out of shape out of this. I mean, it is what it is. Have some, like, I don't know what people want out of this. Do they an apology? You want him to step down as Prime Minister of Canada because he went to go see his family? Like, just get your shit together. There's way bigger problems to deal with. Let's get over this. Let's move on. Let's just, yeah. On other news, outside of all this crazy shit going on in the world and politics and all that, I promised you a treat today. So I wanted to show you for the first time my new patent pending invention. So we talked about yesterday how you're trying to find ways to essentially be a lazy parent sometimes because you can't stimulate your kid all the time. So what I've created is a t-shirt with a nice road design on it, and it contours the shoulders and everything. So this is the back of the shirt. I need to look for a supplier to get this done. This obviously looks shitty. I drew it with a marker and this nice little traffic light over here. But the purpose is to lie down and have your kids use their cars on your back and give you a back massage. So if that's not ingenuity at its finest, I don't know what is. So maybe I'll look for a supplier to get that printed out or something like that and advertise it. I think it's pretty funny. It's actually something I thought about a long time ago. It might sound crazy, but if you're a parent and you're just tired, you don't want to do anything, hey, let's play cars on Daddy's back. I think that'd be a great idea. So I'll post a video, see if I can get my daughter to do it this weekend, and be pretty funny. But other than that, this weekend I got some wine I'm gonna drink, of course. I got to finish my project that threw out my shoulder last weekend. I'm not doing any more sanding. I'm done with that. I just got to do I got a nice cappuccino stain that I got to get on there, and then do a clear coat. So it should be a hell of a lot easier than what I was doing previously with all the sanding. So I'm looking forward to getting that done. Might even work on the basement. I don't know. I'll see how much time I've got. Hoping maybe even watch a good movie. It sounds funny. I was talking to my wife yesterday. Said, we should watch a movie tomorrow night. Sure, what kind of movie? And I said, a good movie. So that's obviously not very descriptive. But there's some classic movies I've talked about. Like, I've never seen Shawshank Redemption. I've never seen Schindler's List. I've never seen The Breakfast Club. These are all things I got on the queue and I'm ready to watch. So maybe I'll actually watch them this weekend. So that'll be good. And for anyone who's into the theater, the Phantom of the Opera is streaming on YouTube today, I believe. If you've never seen Phantom of the Opera, it's fucking amazing. One of my favorite musicals, probably, it might be actually my favorite musical of all time. I grew up with musicals. My sisters were in like Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, or as my sister-in-law likes to call it, Jesus in the Raincoat. Which is pretty funny. I was introduced to theater at a very young age, and I'm used to it. So I really dig that sort of stuff. It's really good music. If you've never witnessed anything like that, it's really, I would say, add it to your list of things to do. I love going to a nice night out to a symphony or a play or a musical, something like that. It's pretty good. And you know what? There's even some, if you don't have the money, because sometimes these tickets are expensive, you can find smaller theaters that put on these productions. They're actually pretty good. In Toronto, I went to the Lower Ossington Theatre a number of times. They got some great plays there. So, worth checking out. Get some culture in your life, and that's my show. So have a great weekend, and don't forget to stay the fuck home and stay safe. All right.